Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Espen Larsen, and I will be the moderator for the webinar. Today's webinar is for shipping companies, and the topic is entering emissions and surrendering allowances in the EU emissions trading system. And we have invited authorized representatives of maritime operator holding accounts and other stakeholders to this event. Some of today's topics are the Norwegian emissions trading system, submitting verified emission reports and entering emissions into the registry, and surrendering allowances. We are going to start with a presentation that lasts for about 30 minutes, and after that you are all welcome to ask questions. And you will do that in the Q&A section of Teams, and we will have our presenters and a few other colleagues to help answer your questions. The presenters today are Konrad Sandvik and Ingeborg Rian Julsrud, to mention that. And just a couple of more practical things before we start. The webinar will be recorded and we will publish it on our website, hopefully during today or on Monday, but it will soon be available. Also, together with a PDF copy of the presentation that we are holding. So, and we will probably have lots of questions. There is a voting feature in the Q&A, and if there are questions that you are very eager to be answered yourself, you're welcome to vote for that question, and we will sort questions according to that priority. All right, I think it's time to start the presentation. So Ingeborg and Konrad, you will take it from here.
Well, thank you, Espen. I'll start with just a small correction. This seminar is not only for the maritime operators, but of course for every operator in the emissions trading system, although we did expect there to be more representatives for the maritime companies here today, since this will be your first time surrendering emissions. But we will get straight to it. Thank you all for joining us. As you might know, we are the Norwegian Environment Agency, and we are an agency under the Ministry of Climate and Environment. So our mission, what we're working for, is a clean and diverse environment. And subject to that, we are tasked with both the role of competent authority and national administrator within the EU ETS regulation. Now, the Norwegian Emissions Trading Registry is charged with administrating only the Norwegian part of the Union Registry, and we will get back later to what that entails. Before we move on, perhaps the most important thing we will be mentioning today is these 2025 deadlines for every operator that had emissions in 2024 that were subject to the EU ETS. Now, this first deadline has already passed. It was on March 31st, where by this date you should have submitted and verified your emissions. And if you have not done so yet, you should do this as soon as you possibly can, because by September 30th, you are obligated to surrender allowances corresponding to the amount of verified emissions you had in 2024. And this date is very strict. There is no legal wiggle room, and it means that you have to both acquire and surrender allowances in the registry by September 30th. And failure to surrender within this date will result in that you receive what's called the compliance status B in the registry. Your account will receive this status. Among other things, that will also mean you do incur a penalty fee of 100 euros, which is also inflation adjusted, so it's a bit more than 100 euros now. And that will be for every allowance that you have failed to surrender by this date. In addition to this, your duty to surrender those allowances will remain. So you will get this additional fee on top of still keeping your duty to surrender those allowances. Now, we will go to some background on this emissions trading system, which we refer to as the EU ETS. This is one of the key instruments that the EU is using to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And it's specifically for emissions in the EU zone. So currently there are some different sectors that are subject to the EU ETS. Those are different land-based industries with their industrial plants and facilities. We also have aviation operators and petroleum platforms. Now, from 2024, we also have maritime transport, which is our newest inclusion in the regular emissions trading system. So this is not so relevant to most of you, but there will be another emissions trading system introduced, aptly named ETS2, which will include road transport buildings and some other sector. And these will run in parallel, but most of the people in this webinar will likely not be subject to this other trading system. So it will not replace the old one, it will run in parallel for other activities. And the current status is that more than half of Norway's emissions are covered by the EU ETS. So it's a large part of the Norwegian emissions reduction strategy as well. Now some more of the basics here. You should know that the emission allowances that are traded in the EU ETS, they are a measurement, or they are an allowance equivalent to 1 metric ton of CO2 equivalent emissions. And the system in itself, its basis is that operators are free to buy and sell these allowances, and they have a duty to surrender allowances at the end of a year, which are equal to their previous year emissions. And this is by the September 30th deadline. And then over time, as you will see here, the emission cap is reduced to reduce the overall emissions from the sectors subject to the EU ETS. And one of the principles is that this gives the operators the option to either reduce their emissions or to purchase allowances for the emissions that they currently have. So, and the other principle here is, of course, that this creates an economic incentive to reduce the emissions where the cost of reduction is the lowest. And the idea is to make a system for reduction that is has the least impact on economic activity as well. So now some info on the EU allowances, which are the allowances you will be using if you are subject to the EU ETS. These allowances are different from and not interchangeable with other emission allowances from other systems that may exist. you cannot use quotas or allowances from other systems if you have an obligation to surrender allowances under EU ETS. So today you will see in the market that most allowances are so-called EUA allowances. These are the standard allowances, but you might also encounter what we now refer to as a legacy allowance, which has the abbreviation EUAA, and that stems from the fact that the aviation sector previously had their own kind of allowances. Then there was a change in the rules, making the EUAA allowances functionally the same as the EUA allowances, and you are now fully allowed to purchase and surrender EUAA allowances as if they were EUA allowances. There are no longer new EUAA allowances issued, but if you do encounter them in the market, you can know that they are exactly the same for the purposes of surrendering. Now, we've got some questions of whether there will be some sort of similar system or other kinds of allowances now that maritime transport has been included, but there will not be a separate allowance. Now the system just only contains the EUA allowances, but the total number of allowances was increased now in 2024 when maritime transport was introduced to sort of increase the ceiling to account for that more emissions now are covered by the same system. Another thing you might encounter is that allowances will state what phase they were issued in. So the emissions trading system is divided into these phases, and the phases you're most likely to encounter is the phase we are in now, 2021 to 2030. So, for instance, allowances bought on auction now will be phase 4 allowances. But if you purchase from another operator that might have older allowances, they might say that they're from phase 3. Now, if you have emissions in phase 4, you are perfectly allowed to use phase 3 allowances to surrender or to fulfill your obligations. So the only people that would need specifically phase 3 allowances is if somebody would now later incur a duty to deliver allowances for emissions that happened in phase 3. But this will be a niche situation that most of you will not have to worry about. Now, for some of you, this will be the first time that you have to acquire allowances. And so we have a little bit of information here on how that is typically done. The main way that auctions are put into circulation is through auctioning of allowances. These auctions are conducted by the European Energy Exchange, which is an actor that the European Commission has entered into contract with specifically for the task of auctioning allowances. So you can go to the European Energy Exchange's website and look at their requirements for participating in an auction. But some quick information about that is that the companies that are subject to the EU ETS mostly qualifies without too much hassle to participate in these auctions. And they are conducted quite often. Usually there's 3 auctions every week. What you have to know about these auctions is that they are only selling allowances in blocks of 500. So you will have to purchase in these blocks. So if you have a much lower duty to surrender than 500. If you perhaps only need a few, you will either have to sell the remaining allowances, keep them for next period, or get your allowances in another way, for instance, bilateral trading or over-the-counter purchasing of allowances, which means that you can approach other operators to purchase allowances from them, or approach actors in the emission allowances market to purchase a specific number of allowances. And we know there are several, a lot of different ways that you can get allowances from different kinds of actors. Some industries will also qualify for some free allocation depending on their product, their industry, and their emissions. These industries are probably aware of this already, and for maritime specifically, there will be no free allocation. Instead, we have what we refer to as a gradual phase-in of the duty to surrender for maritime shipping companies or maritime operators, meaning that now in 2025, you are only liable to surrender allowances for 40% of the emissions that you had in 2024. And the emissions that you had in 2024 will be calculated by what you see here on the left, that all voyages that were within the EEA area, you have to report 100% of those emissions. And when you have a voyage that is from or to the EEA and either to or from outside the EEA, then only 50% of that voyage emissions will be reported. But you have to report the full emissions, but you will only have to surrender for 40% of what you have reported. Then by 2026, as I said, we're phasing it in, so then you will have to surrender for 70%, and by 2027, you are surrendering 100% allowances compared to your emissions. Now, how you can view the registry is sort of like an online bank for allowances. And the EU ETS allowances, the EUAs, they exist only in the registries, either in Norway's registry or in any of the other countries' registries. And since there has been some questions about this as well, we do not process any payment in other currencies. You cannot buy allowances from the Norwegian registry, and you do not pay for the allowances that you purchase from other actors or from auctions with money from your Norwegian registry account. It is simply an online bank where you have accounts that can hold allowances. Now we'll get into the different kinds of accounts shortly. But as you can see from the big green circle on the side here, the Union Registry, when we refer to that, that's the whole infrastructure run by the European Commission. And then it is divided into the different countries' specific registries. So if you have an account in the Norwegian registry, we are administrating that. And you are still free to transfer allowances to accounts in other registries, for instance, in the German registry or Swedish registry, which would have their own separate red circles in this greater registry. Now, as I said, here we get into the different kinds of accounts. These are the main types of account. Either you have one of the different operator holding accounts, which could be, for instance, a maritime operator holding account, or aviation operator holding account, or you could have what is referred to as a trading account. So to qualify for an operator holding account, you must specifically be an operator with emissions that are subject to the EU ETS, or activity that is subject to the EU ETS. However, for a trading account, you do not have to be an operator, but there are some actually stricter rules for applying for a trading account. But there are several companies that have trading accounts that are not in any other way subject to the EU ETS. So if you are an operator, it is all right for you to only have your specific kind of operator holding account. But if you want more than one account, then your second account will have to be a trading account. And as you can see from this table, you can use an operator holding account for the same activities as you can a trading account. The difference is that operator holding accounts are the only accounts that you can use to enter submissions and to surrender allowances in accordance with your duty as an operator under the EU ETS. So if you currently know that you are subject to the EU ETS and you don't have an operator holding account, you should contact us in the Norwegian registry as soon as possible to get this account before the deadline to surrender. If you only have a trading account, you will not be able to enter submissions or to surrender allowances from this account. Now, to give you some more information about specifically how to enter the emissions and to surrender allowances, I give the floor, so to say, to my colleague Ingeborg.
Thank you, Konrad. I hope you can all hear me.
Yep.
Good. Now I will guide you through the tasks you need to complete in order to fulfill your obligations. That is, how do you enter your emissions in the registry and how do you surrender your allowances? To clarify expectations, I will not be covering the process of acquiring access to the registry today, or how to apply for an account. So for anyone who is in the process of applying for an account as we speak, please see our online guidance that will be linked at the end of this presentation. Also, my example screenshots will be from maritime operator holding accounts, that is MOHAs, and things look slightly different for operators of industry accounts. Also, the presentation will be shared, meaning you will not only get an intro to these tasks now, you will hopefully also be able to use the slides as a guide once you are going to perform the tasks yourself. Now, before I move forward, I would like to remind you of these two important acronyms in the registry. Most of you are probably aware, but just to minimize confusion and to make sure we are all on the same page, a maritime operator holding account can be abbreviated to MOHA, and an authorized representative of an account in the registry may be abbreviated to AR. Let's start with the entering of emissions. There are 3 general steps to complete. Before the emissions are entered into the registry, the authorized representative of the account must appoint their verifier in the registry. the verifier of the emission report also needs to verify the quantity of emissions in the registry. And the second task is to enter the emissions from the previous year in the registry. This is also done by the authorized representative of the account. The third part is for the verifier to mark the entered quantity of emissions as verified. All three of these steps need to be completed by the end of March 31st. Only one authorized representative from the account holder is needed in order to enter the emissions, but like I said, a representative from the verifier company must also log in to approve. All right, so when you enter the registry as authorized representative, you will arrive in one of two places. If you are an AR for more than one account, you will arrive on a page that lists all of the accounts that you are AR for. You see a list of the accounts, and then you must click one of them, and then you must also click Overview to the left to arrive on this page that you see on the screen now. If you're authorized representative for only one account, you will arrive directly on this page. This overview page shows the account balance, the compliance status of the account, a history of transactions, as well as any open tasks. On the left-hand side, there is a navigation menu where you can navigate through different pages of information that is available on the account. Like I said, the first step is to appoint a verifier. This is done by an authorized representative. So from your account, if you click the button Compliance to the left here, you will arrive on this page. Here, you click Appoint Verifier all the way to the right. You will then see this window pop up where you have to choose your verifier from the drop-down list. The list will contain all open verifier accounts accredited for your operator type in the Norwegian registry. The registry will ask you to confirm by clicking Submit a few times, and once you have submitted the appointment, the verifier will have to accept it. So importantly, the appointment is not completed until the verifier has accepted it. It's important that the verifier is appointed to the account before the next step of entering emissions is completed, because the verifier will only be able to approve the emissions entered after appointment. After the verifier has been appointed, you may enter your emissions. This can be done on the compliance page by clicking the Quick Actions button over here and then Report Emissions. Alternatively, there might only be a Report Emissions button. When you click Report Emissions, a window will pop up like this. Well, the page will look quite different depending on whether you are a shipping company or an installation operator, for instance. But here I'm showing what it looks like to a shipping company this year. So the following applies to shipping companies specifically. The emissions here need to be the same numbers as reported in the company level emissions report in TEDIS MRV. And the box to the right on the page here contains which points in the company level emissions report need to be entered. So here on the top, you enter your full emissions from 2024. If your company is eligible for ICE class derogation, you enter the total after ICE class reduction here. If you're not eligible, you need to enter the full emissions again here. And then on the bottom, you type in the reduced emissions, including the phase-in reduction to 40%. Next, you click Propose, and the number is then sent for approval by your appointed verifier. Now, a representative of the appointed verifier must log into the registry to approve and see, that is, if the number is correct. Your reported emissions should show up in the verifier's task list, but this requires that they were already appointed prior to the emissions being entered. Once it has been approved, the entered emissions are marked as verified in the registry, and this approval task by the verifier is the final one that must be performed by March 31st every year. So now we're done with the tasks that should have been completed by the end of March, and now we go on to the surrendering of allowances, which needs to be completed by September 30th. Of course, before you can surrender allowances, you need to have acquired some, like Konrad talked about earlier. So, like with any transaction in the registry, the surrender transaction has a 4I principle by default. This means that to surrender allowances, 2 authorized representatives for the account are necessary. The surrender is completed in 2 steps, where first, one authorized representative proposes the surrender of allowances, and the second needs to be a different authorized representative approves the surrender. The authorized representative that is going to propose the surrender needs to have initiator rights, and the authorized representative that is to approve the surrender must have approver rights. Most ARs have both of these rights, mind you, but you should make sure. The proposing of the surrender can be done as follows. An AR with initiator rights logs in, and all the way to the right on the compliance page, there should be a button that says surrender allowances. The AR needs to click this, and then a page opens where you should enter the number of allowances you are going to surrender. On the top here is a summary of your current compliance status. The table will also show if you have already surrendered any allowances. But the compliance figure is the number that tells you how many allowances you actually owe. It's an important figure. Below this table is where you input the amount of allowances that you want to surrender. All the way to the right, under quantity to transfer, you need to add the number of allowances you're surrendering. This example here shows 3 rows, each with a different type of allowance. The table should only contain the types of allowances that are available in your account, where here in this example, the top rows show normal allowances EUAs, phase 3 and 4, and the third row shows aviation allowances from phase 3. As Konrad discussed earlier, all of these types of allowances are possible to use for surrender. So to comply, the quantity of allowances need to add up to the compliance figure. Once you click propose on the bottom here, the registry will then ask you to sign the transaction using EU login. Next, a different authorized representative needs to log in. This must be an authorized representative with approver rights. On the left-hand side menu, the authorized representative needs to find tasks and click that. Here there should be a task that says surrender allowances. Click this. The task will show up and you can check the numbers. If they're indeed correct, you can click approve, and you will then be asked to confirm the approval. And then you get redirected to EU login to sign the transaction. And then you are done. The surrender of allowances now happens immediately. Finally, I would like to give a short heads up regarding surrendering too many allowances. A surrender transaction that has been approved by 2 ARs cannot easily be reversed. If you surrender too many allowances this year, the registry will not automatically return the excess to your account. Instead, the registry will carry them over to next year, so you will need to surrender fewer allowances then. That said, should you discover that you have surrendered too many allowances, you should contact us, the national administrator. We may be able to help you reverse the surrender if you contact contact us quickly enough after the fact. Finally, here are some links to our online resources that might be helpful to you, as well as our email address for any questions about the Norwegian Emissions Trading Registry. And with that, we conclude our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and we would like to open the floor to questions. Espen?
Thank you so much, Ingeborg and Konrad. You can go ahead and close the presentation, I think. And all of my colleagues here at the Environment Agency, you may turn on your camera, but keep your microphone muted. And then jump out and help answer the questions that are in here. So there's one question so far, and the person says, could you briefly elaborate on which businesses in land-based industry are eligible for free allowances, as it doesn't seem to be specified here? And then there is a link, and I think you can see the link in the Q&A there. So help us out.
Yeah, I can try to answer this one. Although this is not the area of expertise for the emissions registry, we have a separate department working on free allocation. So you will have to take the information I'm about to give with that in mind. But on the web page that this question linked, there is a shortcut quite high on the page. It says veiledere og maler. And by following that and clicking on the document that is called Veileder 1, I think this document includes some more information on who is eligible. And if you still have questions about this, I would really recommend that you contact our colleagues in the relevant department with your questions. You can also call the general phone number for the Environment Agency, tell them your area of question, and they will transfer you to a person that is working with the specific area.
All right. Thank you, Konrad. Yeah, I can see a hand up in the air here, but please, we have to do the questions in the Q&A session, so you'll have to type it in the Q&A there, and we'll try to answer your question. And also a reminder, it's good if you can actually vote for the question that you're most interested in hearing the answer to, and we'll sort it in that order. And you can follow that order yourself. If you go over to the Q&A section there, you can see 2 arrows, one arrow pointing up and one arrow pointing down, and that's where you choose how to sort it. And all right, so now the one on the top, well, that's will the presentation and recording be shared after? And I answer that, yes, we will post it. Publish it either by the end of the day today or at least by Monday. So next one here will be, will the failure to submission of MRV ETS monitoring plan / revised version of monitoring plan corrected as per registry feedback will attract penalties? Yeah, you can probably read it yourself if I read something wrong there. Anyone like to try to answer that? It seems that Huisen here also already wrote a reply to that, and he says, she says, can you please send us a mail on which ships that are concerned? Anything that should be added to that, Huisen, or? You think that would solve it?
I think Rahul needs to send us an email about this so we can look into that before we give a clear answer.
Yeah. All right. Good. So I'll put that in the archive, and I'll move on to the next one. The allowances that I'm supposed to surrender is to be transferred from our technical manager, EU-based. How long will it take from then transferring the allowance to me receiving them on my Norwegian MOHA account?
I can answer this. It usually happens almost instantaneously, but to account for possible technical issues, we would always suggest that you check public holidays, both in the transferring country and in Norway here in your receiving country, because they will affect the transfer time. But usually it will happen instantaneously, and the rule of thumb is that you should probably not make it so that you have to receive the allowances on the same day that you are to surrender them. We do ask that you give yourself some leeway as well on possible technical difficulties or illness on your part. We have we often have situations with people, for instance, not being able to log into their account, and those are very good to be aware of those problems as soon as possible to decrease the amount of stress for everyone.
That's good. All right, next question here. Do we round up the number of EUAs to purchase/settle compared to reported emissions? For example, 1.8 EUAs or 2.0?
If nobody else has the answer to that, I will try to answer. However, I actually don't know whether you the specific rounding rules, but I am almost certain that we have guidance on this on our webpage, where we have several guidance documents on how to report emissions and also how to surrender. So I would point you to those. And if you cannot find it, then please contact us and we will give you the answer.
All right.
And if I may say something, Espen, and in terms of maritime transport, the right number is in the company emission report. So it's always the numbers in the company emission report that you should enter in the registry. So they are already run up or done.
Thank you. Okay, I'll do the next one, which already has an answer written here. The question is, we have authorization for 2I to trusted account. How will the surrendering happen? And Petter has replied here. It says, if the account holder opted to allow transfers proposal to accounts on trusted account list without second authorized representative approval, well, the 2I's principle will apply. This will also apply to return of excess allocation, surrenders, and deletion of allowances transactions. Anything you feel like adding there, Petter?
Yeah, nothing else than you just need one person to approve the transaction. So you don't need a approver and a initiator.
Okay, good, thanks. I'll go on to the next one. When receiving allowances from the charters, we only get to know from whom and the amount. Sometimes the charters also uses a third party. Could you please elaborate on how specific information regarding the vessel and specific voyage should be entered when transferring the EUAs to us?
Okay, I can try to answer this one. There's a function where the sender or transfer of the allowances can put in a comment, I believe, when transferring. But other than that, the registry is not, I guess that's not the place for this specific information to be sent. That should maybe be done in a separate system, email, or I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to this.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, Ingeborg, but it would be possible to include with the transaction some sort of reference number that would correspond to some sort of external reference number for that voyage, correct? So you could for instance, have an agreement with your charter on how they would name the different transactions, or what comments they would append to the transaction, which could correspond to some sort of code or reference number for each voyage that you have agreed on from beforehand. That would be one solution, but you're free to use it as you see fit.
Yes.
All right. Good. Okay, so for now, the last question here. Please, if you have more questions, go ahead and type it into the Q&A. Then this is, the ship owner wants to directly surrender allowances in our account. How to do that? I am the ship manager. And then there's one more question from the same person. Where is the beneficiary name in the Union Registry?
Okay, I can try to answer the first question there. The ship owner. Well, the ship owner, if the ship owner has an account in the registry, they will have to transfer allowances to your account in order for you to be able to surrender these allowances. So, and how to do that, there is a user guide that we could link you to, where that shows how to transfer allowances to other accounts. The second question, I'm not sure I understand it. Can anyone else answer this one?
Because in the Union Registry, it's as far as I know, only the name of the account holder, which is the owner of the specific account. But you have to for instance, a trading account, you will have to submit beneficial owners, and for operator account, you would have to submit a company structure, but that is not directly visible in the registry or in your account. And if I understand the first question correctly, you are asking whether the ship owner can surrender allowances for their specific ship in your account. Does that might mean that you have an account where you are responsible for several ships? Perhaps you are an ISM company with a contract. If not, I would suggest that you send the specific case to us on email so that we can reply to the specific situation. But if in order for someone to surrender allowances in your account, they would have to be an authorized representative to that account. So if they are not, you will have to appoint them. And if you are responsible for several ships or you have a contract with several ship owners to surrender allowances or have the EU ETS responsibility in their name, there is not a function in the registry for the specific ship owners to surrender allowances for only their specific ship. They can surrender that specific amount, but it will not be tied to their ship specifically when it comes to surrendering. So if that does not answer it, I would suggest you contact us via email for the specifics.
Thank you. I'll move on to the next question. Is there a timestamp for surrendering? Are the EUAs surrendered on September 30th at 23:59? Will they be compliant?
Off the top of my head, I believe this to be the time or the cutoff. However, I have not looked into the specific time of day where the cutoff is. So if that might become a problem, I would certainly hope that you can contact us well in advance so that we can find this out for you. But please, to your abilities, try to surrender well ahead of this date so that you don't encounter these problems, because the penalties will be quite high compared to your duty to surrender, which you will, as I said, still keep even though you incur the penalties.
Okay, thank you. So for now, the last question that's in here: does the MRV MP status is under revision or submitted to AA affect the submission of allowances?
I can answer this one. So the monitoring plan is submitted in TEDIS MRV, which is a different system to the Union Registry, and there will not be any technical issues or anything with submitting or surrendering allowances based on the status in TEDIS MRV. Hussein, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I would like to point out that the company emission report must be verified and submitted to us. So although the monitoring plan is still under revision or submit to AA, you need to have a verified company mission report at least. And if you have a verified company mission report, and please remember also to click the submit to admin authority button in order to get the report to us.
All right, thank you. Well, for now, there are no more questions here, so which means we will likely end. Okay, here's a clarification probably. Thanks, Ingeborg. Konrad, just to clarify again my question, if you want to try to answer now. We are the ship manager responsible for many ships and ship owners. The ship owners have bought EUAs already. They want our account number and name to surrender. Is that help you?
Yeah, so it will. The way you're asking the question, I am assuming that you have taken on the responsibility of surrendering allowances for these specific ships or for these specific ship owners. And that if you had not taken on this responsibility, then the ship owners that you speak of would have been the shipping operators themselves. So in that case, you have taken on the responsibility to surrender the allowances, and then you have a private contract with ship owners that they will buy the EUAs and send them to you. So for them to send to you, they will need your account number in the registry, and they can transfer the allowances with any sort of message or reference number that you might agree upon beforehand. And then you, as the operator, will have to surrender those allowances. But you will have to surrender those allowances, let's say, for all the ships of which you are responsible before the deadline, or else then you, as the responsible entity, will incur the penalty for the allowances that you have not surrendered. And due to the way the registry is structured, you are not able to tell the registry specifically, if that's important for the shipping owner, that it's this specific shipping owner has surrendered their allowances or paid me this allowances that I've surrendered. It will be, you have to surrender based on your aggregate report of the shipping owners that you are responsible for. And that will be a total amount. Perhaps that answers your question. If not, you can type in another clarification or send us an email if you like.
Thank you. All right, one more here. As we were not able to enter emissions by the deadline earlier this year, the accounts are now blocked. What do I do?
Okay, I can answer this one. Okay, so in order for the account to be unblocked, the only thing you need to do is enter the emissions and get them verified by your verifier. So I would do that as soon as possible. And then also the blocked status, the only thing it prevents you from doing is transferring allowances to other accounts. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
one
to
more
clarify,
question.
they can still receive, sorry, Espen, but to clarify, you can still receive allowances on a blocked account. You can still enter your emissions, the emissions report on a blocked account. And when you do and have them verified, I think, your account is then unblocked as well.
Thank you. Okay. I think we will do the last one now because we're getting close to 2 o'clock. How do we transfer from the trading account to the MOHA account? Should there be an open task under the MOHA now?
Well, we have guidance on our webpage on how to initiate a transfer, and you will transfer to the MOHA account as you would transfer to any other type of account. So you can go through our guidance on the webpage on how to transfer allowances. It will be same general process as if you were to transfer from one account in your online bank to another account in your online bank, but it does not separate, I don't think, whether you are the owner of both accounts. You will have to do a transfer in the same way. And there should not be a task to receive allowances. They will just be received. And then on the operator accounts, of course, as Ingeborg went through, you will start the process to surrender the number of allowances that you are obligated to. So that is different from a transfer. And again, Ingeborg went through how to do that now, and we also have guidance on the website for this process.
All right. I think that's all for today. Time is running out. Thank you very much to all of you who came to the webinar and participated and asked questions. And of course, thanks to our experts here, Hussein, Johanna, Ingeborg, Konrad, and Petter. And I hope this was helpful. And if you are still wondering about some things, feel free to reach out to us. So that's it for today. So have a good rest of the Friday and a good weekend. Bye-bye.